Hello YouTube. So I'm back with a new video series, and this is going to be a pretty in-depth look at my live rig. I think I did a live stream a few weeks back, and also posted a video of me performing live in Lincoln, Lincoln in the UK that is, which was my first gig after lockdown, first gig in about 18 months, which I thoroughly enjoyed, went really well, and it was the first time I've used my new live rig, which is all of this nonsense over here. So as a result of those two videos I've posted, I've had quite a few people asking me how it's all connected, how it's all working, and how it's all put together. So I thought I would do a fairly in-depth video series on basically how it all works, and this is part one. So in this one I'm just going to go over kind of like a bit of an introduction to it all, a bit of an overview, what I was trying to achieve. I'll go through the hardware I'm using and the connections and software and everything else, and then I'll get more in depth in the following videos. So I will go through how I take one of my tracks and get it prepared ready for playing live. Go through in great detail the Ableton Live Set, because it's a right mess, but it kind of works. So we'll go through all of that. We'll go through like using chain selectors for changing the sounds on the drum pads and the MIDI controller and everything. So hopefully by the end of it, you should have a good idea of how I'm doing everything, and it will hopefully give you a few ideas of how you might want to do your live set. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. It's something I've worked on quite a lot this year. Probably far too much, but I've kind of now got it to a stage where I'm very happy with it. I've taken it out live and it's working well. So the idea behind the live set was, in the past I've pretty much played live using just the Deluge, my best friend over here. I've always steered away from using a laptop purely because I couldn't rely on my laptop. So I have my kind of studio laptop over here, which is pretty old now, and it's prone to crashing. Once it works, it's great. It's i7 processor and it's pretty good. It can handle a hell of a lot. So I'm still using that as my kind of studio laptop. But I found that if Ableton Live crashed, it was taking 5-6 minutes for Ableton Live to reload. So the amount of hours I've wasted waiting for that to reload. And I thought, yeah, I've never used that live, couldn't trust it. I then kind of treated myself in the summer. I bought a Microsoft Surface Pro, a Pro 7, which is sitting here in the middle. And that then gave me the idea, because obviously it was brand new, and it just worked really well. So I thought, okay, let's have a go at using that for playing live as well. Reason I wanted to go down that route was I wanted to do, when I played live, like DJ transitions between my tracks. I didn't want to play a track, have a gap, play another track. I wanted it to just have a whole flow through of music, mixing between the two, kind of like intros and outros and that kind of thing, which I tried doing on the Deluge. It can be done, but it wasn't perfect, and it was just too complicated. So yeah, went down the route of doing it with Ableton Live. I'm still actually using the Deluge. I didn't when I played last week, but I'll explain what I'm doing with that as well in a minute. So yeah, that was the idea, to be able to have DJ style transitions, to be able to play my tracks in any order I want. If I'm playing live, I would have a set list mapped out and usually would probably stick to that. But if I suddenly needed to cut it short, the set, or if I needed to extend it, I would have like backup tracks so I can play them in any order I want. I can play them for as long as I want, so I can extend them out and just keep loops going and grooves going and a bit of improvisation stuff over the top, or I can make them shorter if necessary. If I'm feeling like a track's not going down very well, I can get out of it. So I wanted total flexibility for track length. With most of the tracks, my tracks kind of fall into two sort of camps. One is, sorry, just checking that's recording. One is my tracks that are more kind of like grooves, a lot of the acid stuff, which they have a structure, but it's not a specific structure. There will be different sections, but they can be extended and so on. Then I have other tracks that are more like specific songs, where I perhaps worked with a vocalist that will be a very specific structure, like verse, chorus, and that kind of thing. So for those, I wouldn't make them any longer or shorter, but I'll go through the two different ways I prepare my tracks. The other thing I wanted to achieve was I wanted a reasonable amount of hardware to take out with me, so I've got enough to play live. So as I play live, I'm doing some drumming on the drum pads over here. I'm playing some keyboard parts from the controller. over here, and we're doing some knob twiddling on the TB03. But I didn't want to have a stupid amount of stuff to take out with me, and it needed to be quick to set up, quick to break down. So let's just switch over, just tell you what I've got first. That's probably a slightly closer view, just so you can see if I get out of the way of the camera. So this is what I have. If I'm going to a venue and I know they've got a desk or a table, then I just turn up with all the stuff on here. If it's a venue, if I'm playing like in a hall or whatever, and there's absolutely nothing there, what I've got here is I've got a normal keyboard stand, and then I've got this like keyboard stand top, which I brought very recently. It's black metal. It's a little bit heavier than I was kind of hoping it would be for taking out playing live, but it's there if I need it to be. And that was made by, I can't remember, it was about 40 or 50 quid. Have I still got the instruction thing for it over here somewhere? I don't know. I will remember and put a link in the website. It's going to annoy me now who made it. Gravity, that's it, Gravity. They do stands and hello, I stopped the camera. Where's the camera? Over there. Up there. I've got too many cameras in here. Yeah, it's Gravity. They do a lot of keyboard stands. They do a pack with this top and a keyboard stand as well, which I think is about 60 or 70 quid. So I'll put a link to that in the description if anybody's interested in those. I mean, it looks really nice. It's got like little air holes in it as well. So if you've, you know, for airflow and that kind of thing. And it's also quite useful for tucking cables down in between there. So that's kind of like the stand. And then what I'm taking out with me is Yamaha drum pads and this stand that they're on. Like they stand down there. We've got the Roland TB03. We've got the Complete Kontrol S25, which is like the old version. This is quite a recent addition. I was using the mini log for playing live, but the keys, I just found the keys, I couldn't play it. These are full-size keys on here, and they feel really nice. And it's a lot easier just to play with my big fat fingers on there. Again, that was a second-hand thing off eBay. I think I paid about 60, 70 quid for that, which is pretty much a bargain. We've got the Surface Pro in the middle, which is kind of like the brains of everything. We've got an MX1 mixer. In fact, let's just switch over to the overhead camera for this bit now. You see the drum pads, there we go. So yeah, you can see there, we've got the TB03, we've got the Complete Kontrol, we've got the Surface Pro in the middle. We've got the Deluge over here, and then everything is routed through the MX1, and I'll talk in detail in future videos about how I've got that set up. So I'm running Ableton Live. Let's go over to that screen, hopefully. Which has disappeared. So bear with me, let me just get that screen back. Okay, we've got that back. So I'm trying to sort of stream a screen across to OBS as well, which keeps disappearing a little bit. So this is the Ableton Live Set. So if we just give you a quick sort of kind of look at this. The way it works is I have over on, I don't know if you can see the cursor there, but over on this side we have deck A, and then we have deck B over here. So as I sort of scroll down, let's get rid of that. Hopefully you can see, so each track is a different color, and as I scroll down we've got some on deck A, some on deck B, but then I have transitions going between the two, which again I will explain in full detail in future videos. So that's what I've got in there at the moment. I'm going to add some more tracks, and then what I'm using with Ableton, because I want to be able to be hands-on from launching clips and not have to use a mouse, is this app called touchAble, which again I will put a link to in the description. So I'm actually running this. You can run this on a separate iPad and it will connect into the computer, or I'm actually managed to run this one on the same machine. It's a little bit hit and miss. You have to start it 2 or 3 times, but it does get it going after a while. So you can see, hopefully we have the same Ableton, basically it's mirroring what we've got on the Ableton Live Set here, but we have much bigger kind of clip buttons for launching scenes, launching clips and that kind of thing. And you can have split screen on this. Again, this is something I will go through in full detail. So I've got like mixer faders on here, but I can still then have those all the clips showing on the top. If I just go back to let's go over there so you can kind of see So you can see hopefully as I kind of bring those faders down, you can see those are moving. And then we've got control over there. So if I want to launch a clip, I can just press on the screen and it's muted at the moment, but or obviously launch a scene. Over there like so. Great app. I don't really use it as much as to its full extent, to be fair. If we go over there, we've got a crossfader, which is very useful for my things. I can fade between deck A and deck B. There's lots of, we can then, let's just go on to that. So we can have like a push type screen controller on there. We can have XY pads doing crazy stuff. We can have whatever that is, back to clips. But I tend to just use it in that split screen thing with the fades at the bottom. But obviously you can have different choices of different things on your bottom half and your top half. So it's a great app. It's not dead cheap. I think it's about £27 for this version, so which is the Windows version, but it works very, very well. So that's kind of a brief look at the kind of what gear I've got. If we just go through connections wise, so what's happening is, let's start with the MX1. So we've got the main USB connection from the MX1 is going into the Surface Pro. So that is then connected up to Ableton Live and doing all its MIDI thing and so on in there. Again, I'll go through all the settings in Ableton in a future video. So that's the connection for Ableton. The other USB connection then is going from the Deluge into the second USB connection, which is there on the Surface Pro. I'll talk about what the Deluge is doing in a bit. Audio wise, so we've got the audio out. I'm just taking the left mono out for now, which is going into channel 3 on the MX1. So that's going in from there. That's pretty much it for audio connections. Ignore the fact that these are plugged in. This is other studio stuff. So I would just have one audio connection go from the Deluge into there. The TB03 is connected into USB 3 on the MX1, which is giving it power. And also doing audio and also doing MIDI. So one cable, that's all I need from that. Power, USB, MIDI and all that kind of stuff is done from that one cable, which is awesome, cuts down on cables. My aim was to get as fewer cables as possible with this. The Komplete control is just doing a standard 5-pin MIDI out connection to the MIDI in on the MX1. And then I've got the drum pads over here. That's got, again, a standard 5-pin MIDI cable coming out of there, which is going into the TD3, which is then passing the MIDI through there via the USB into the MX1 for triggering drum samples. Not just drum samples, there's some drum samples, there's some vocal samples and other stuff as well, which I'll demonstrate shortly. So that's the connections. So there's not a lot of cables to take out in terms of power. I only have 2, is it, power sockets? I've got no, 3. So I have to have a power plug for the MX1, one for the Komplete control, and one for the drum pads, and that's it, because the Deluge is then powered via USB from the laptop, and the TB03 is powered via the USB from the MX1. So again, minimal amount of connections. So when I took this out last week, I didn't need to take the stand with me because they actually had like a desk that was normally used for DJs, which was basically the same as this. I got all of this into 2 pretty small bags. One was a backpack, which was this. Okay, so we had this backpack, which had the MX1 and some other bits and bobs in it. And then the other one, which is down under there, was a, let's come back and look at the camera for a minute. The other one, which was down there, which is like a hand luggage thing you would take on the airplane with you, which is on wheels. So I've got backpack, that on wheels, and then I just carry that stand, and that's it. Dead simple. Takes me about 10 minutes to set it up. About the same to pack it away if I'm doing it neatly. About 5 minutes if I'm just chucking it in, not neatly. So that's kind of a quick overview of the connections and how it's all sort of put together in the gear I'm using. If I just talk a little bit as well about how I'm actually using all this stuff, and then in future videos we'll get into kind kind of like the technicalities of it all. Let me switch over to, so if we deal with the, so let's start with the Komplete control. So this is basically playing. Let's grab my headphones so I can hear what I'm doing. So the Komplete control is basically just used as a MIDI controller. I'm not actually even using the native instrument stuff for this. Let's go over to the Ableton Live Set. Just one sec. I'll deal with the keyboard stuff. There's my pen. So if we scroll over to this track here, which is called Keys. I'm using a chain selector. Again, I'm going to go through this in full detail in a future video, but I'm pretty much just using most of the stock Ableton VSTs. We've got the upright piano thing that came with Live 11, and then the others, I think I'm using a mixture of analog, and there's another one that was like a Stefan Bodzin bass thing, which was that one, which is disappeared somewhere. There's the actual VST there. That was this little pack thing here, but it's all based on I think that one is running Operator. So actually all the VSTs I'm using, it's just the stock Ableton stuff, which are very good for saving your CPU as well. There's not a lot of nonsense going off with flashy graphics and all that kind of stuff. So the way this works is when I launch a song, it will launch one of these keyboard things here, and it will change the sounds on here automatically. So I don't need to worry about having to fiddle about changing the sounds. Again, I'm going to go through this in massive detail in future videos. But for example, let's go back over here. So what we have on the touchAble app and on the obviously Ableton Live thing is we've got the keys section, then I have dummy MIDI clips. So if I just launch that one, that's giving me this sound. Okay, just switch back, go to that one. And I've mapped these controls. So the first one here is mapped to the cutoff. Okay, if I want a different sound, so for example, on my track Float, it's a piano. Okay, we then have a piano just by launching that clip. And then this other one is whatever that is. Again, another kind of bass. So that's all done with chain selectors. So when I launch that song, I don't need to worry about any settings on here. It's just all done automatically. And what I've done on here as well, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. The great thing with the Komplete Control S25 is it has this readout here, and you can name your, because these are just basically MIDI CC controllers. So you can name them, so you don't have to do stickers like I've got over here, which is really cool. So I've got a cutoff on that dial, got resonance on here. Then we've got filter envelope, pitch envelope, LFO, and detune and various other things, just so I've got some control over that live. To be honest, most of the time it's mostly just the filter, and you can have as many pages as you want of these, up to 127 different obviously MIDI CC controllers. So on the second page I've got some kind of control stuff going off on here. So my tracks are broken down into deck A and deck B, and what I've got here is I've got the fade to grey effect that's in Ableton Live for deck A, and then I've got a repeat, like a beat repeat thing for deck A, and then I've got the same thing for deck B. So if I give an example of that, let's just play a track on deck B. Okay, so what I've got deck A and deck B on these two faders here. Just stop that 1 second. The MX one is in external mixer mode. Again, I know I'm going through a hell of a lot of stuff very quickly here. This is going to all be explained fully in future videos. But it's in external mixer mode, and then I'll show you the routing again in future videos as to how I do it. So obviously we've got the mute there, and I've got the volume fader for that track. The great thing with this is, as well, obviously we've got the built-in filter. Okay, I have my kick drum, which is on, hopefully you can see the kick drum there. So the kick drum is a completely separate track because I wanted the flexibility of being able to bring the kick in and out as I wanted, like this. So I can just change that, bring it back in. Obviously we can filter that as well. Also got the ability to put some of the built-in MX1 effects in there. So they've got a delay. Which for some reason doesn't seem to be doing anything on the kick anyway, but let's show you on deck B with the effects on there. So you've got a delay. We've got another filter built in there. We've got scatter effect, which is great for transitions and that kind of thing. Flanger. And then there's a bit crush and this roll thing as well. So nice for transitions and just kind of mixing stuff up a little bit differently live. You've also got these, like this step sequencer effect on here as well, where you can just like do like a stutter effect. So that's a slicer. And you can just sort of program these on. Or we have like a sidechain kind of effect as well, which is pretty cool. And then we can like step sequence the filter as well. So lots of flexibility in terms of, you know, performance stuff when you're playing live for transitions and this kind of thing. So I got sidetracked on the effects there. So I was going to show you the beat, repeat and the fade thing on here. So we've got the repeat. So I've just got that mapped in Ableton Live. To turn that up. And you can hear underneath, obviously the kick is not affected by that, which works really nicely. And then we've got the fade, which is great for transitions, because I could just leave that like that, and I could filter it out over here, and then start to bring in another track over on A, and then just sort of start to fade that out. So that's really useful for transitions. I tend to use that one if I've got a big jump in tempo. So for example, that one, I think when I go from fading into separation anxiety, it's going from like 124 BPM to like 133. So fade it out, drop the kick out, and then bang in there with the new stuff. These two as well are relative to this track here. I'll come with those in a second. What I've got up on this bit of the set, let's just switch back to that, is I have some loops that play all the way through. Let's just stop everything playing. So this track here is loops. I've got a clap, a shaker, a ride, a second shaker, an offbeat hi-hat. So they basically just play all the time in the background, and then I can bring those in and out off of these mute tracks here. So I've got a clap playing on there. So again, we've got the ability to, you know, use these effects and filters and all that kind of thing. Got a shaker. Got a ride, got another shaker, and an open hi-hat. So these are really useful for, again, transitions for building stuff up. I mean, I can just launch the kick on here, and without any tracks playing, you know, I can just get a little groove going. Do some craziness with the effects. Okay, And then we can start to bring in, I don't know, let's find a 303. So on. For some reason, I'm not getting the sound from the 303. But, so I've got all of those loops in the background just to add stuff. It just gives me another level of percussion if I want to do extra stuff on the transitions. So yeah, that's basically what the Komplete Kontrol is doing. For the 303, well, I had a quick look at that. I'm sending out, let's just open one of these. I've got some MIDI clips in live. Let's just switch over again to there. So that's sending MIDI through the MX1 and then out into the TB03. So I don't have to worry about changing patterns on here. It's just launched automatically with the clips. So then it gives me the option to obviously then play about with the dials and the filter cut off and all that kind of stuff for the 303. So that's basically all that is doing. The Deluge, now I was taking out with me when I played last week. I took the TR6S out with me, which is a great little unit, for even more percussion stuff and shakers and that kind of thing. But then I felt sad for not using the Deluge because it's a great bit of kit. Yeah, it's a great bit of kit. And I did kind of think, yeah, I want to try and use that a bit more. So when it's all playing, it's going to launch the Deluge, and that is on this track here. So what I do basically with this is just some live sequencing, whether that's drums or anything. So if I've got a 909 kit on there, obviously we've just got this step sequencer thing going here. I can just, you know, randomly bring in some fills. And if I want, I can also record live. Ooh. Sorry, I'm pressing the wrong thing. Stopping and starting with that. So that is what the Deluge is doing. And then very quickly, I'll just look at the drum pads because I'm aware that this video is going to be stupid long otherwise. Let's go over to that one. So the drum pads are doing different things depending on which track. And again, we've got dummy MIDI clips in the same way I was changing the stuff on the Komplete Kontrol. So, for example, on first track flow state, that's playing this bass part. We've got, I do a cover of, hold on, let me just turn all these off because that's going to get really annoying after a while. I do a cover of Voodoo Ray. Voodoo Ray. So we've got some samples. So the drum pads are a mixture of drumming and samples. What you think? Hold on, it's not launched yet.
What you think that we think is cool.
We've got separation anxiety. We've just got a, and then the track called Nothing You Can Do. This is, what do I do on this one? Oh, I play the bass part on this one. So this has got, and I've got a few other samples that go in the track. And then I've got one where I just do, there's a couple where I just do like basic normal drumming. So it's just like, and all that kind of stuff. So it's, what I was aiming for as well is that I'm not just kind of, you know, head down with a mouse on a laptop. Let's go back to the that camera because we're nearly done. You'll be pleased to hear. Let me, in fact, I can take them off now. Oh, highly professional, my videos, aren't they? But hey, I don't care. So yeah, that hopefully it kind of gives, you know, I wanted to get as much performance stuff in there as much as I can. So keyboard playing, knob twiddling, drumming, clip launching, and all that kind of thing. So that is like the intro overview to how I do everything. I think I've covered everything on there. The Deluge is still playing. Let's turn that off. And it worked really well. When I did it last week, I was really pleased with it for the first time out. It worked really, really well. If you want to watch that performance, I'll put a link to that in the video description as well. So you can see that and watch it if you wish. And that's it. What I will do is I will share as well on my Patreon at some stage my Ableton Live set, so you can have that with all the tracks and the stems and everything in there. So if you subscribe to Patreon, you will get that. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon, then please feel free to do so. There are a few different tiers that start, I think, at £1 or €1, $1. If you just want to have a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling and support me and the channel, then you can do that. There will be some free stuff for that one as well. And then the higher tiers get more free stuff and more warm, fuzzy feelings. For about the price of a cup of coffee for a month, you can help support me, help support the channel. And what I try and do is put that money back into the channel, because I want to try and improve the cameras and microphones. First time I've used this microphone, so hopefully it's sounding okay. It just means as I move around the studio, hopefully you can hear me without having to have a microphone stuck in front of my face. And I can see my lovely face as well, without having a big microphone stuck in front of it. You may have preferred it with a big microphone stuck in front of it, but okay, just going to have to deal with looking at my face. So thanks for watching. Usual things, like, subscribe, share it around. If you've got any questions, stick them in the box below. But bear in mind, there are going to be probably about 3 or 4 more videos in this series that will go through everything. So the next one, which will be part 2, I'm going to go through how I would prepare a track and get it into my live set. And then we'll look at all the other nonsense, the chain selectors and all that kind of thing in future videos. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in part 2.